Well, probably one of the biggest and lowest experiences I ever had over porn was what I will call snot crying over a particularly bad relapse, a weekend binge that I had a number of years ago now. And in the middle of that despair, I heard a song that summed up what was the deep prayer of my heart. It was God, oh God, oh God, I need a new heart. I need a willing heart. Today we talk about the idea of a new willing heart on Finding Traction. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, we are in the middle of July and we are enjoying beautiful warm weather here up in Canada, Western Canada. We're not in the middle of a heat dome. One of the things I thought would happen as I got into July was that the number of people getting a hold of me would go down. But in fact, it's been the opposite. Spring was actually slower, and now here in the summertime, I'm getting calls from people who are wanting to get into a group. I don't know if it's because of beach weather and beach clothing. I'm not sure it's just people walking around, or we don't have our typical work schedules. But I'm finding that guys are really struggling and reaching out and saying, help, I need to get into a group. So we are looking at starting up a summer sobriety group. If you are not in a group and you are looking for a group of 5 to 7 guys who are wanting to walk through the Finding Traction course together, I would love you to reach out to me. We have a 52-week video Finding Traction course. Guys will watch the videos, they will look at the worksheets, do the worksheets, and then we show up and we journey together towards your first full year of freedom from embedded porn use. We also connect throughout the week on WhatsApp, and it really is absolutely crucial for guys. So if you are looking for a group, or you are tired of trying to do it on your own, or you realize, you know what, I got to up my game here, please reach out to me at bandofbrothers.care at gmail.com. You'll need to do it soon because we like to have guys start pretty close to the same time. And so we're all pretty much on the same page. Let me also say that if you are not on Circle, please get on Circle. It's a free, the link is here in the show notes, and it's a way for you to access not just all the podcasts, to watch a couple free lessons from the Finding Traction course, but also a way for you to access a number of the worksheets, diagrams, different tools that I've used to help guys, planning tools. There's on there, for example, a weekly planning tool, which I have heard is especially helpful as we're in the middle of summertime and we may not have all of our typical work things to keep us focused. So for all those reasons, get on Circle. Or if you just want to reach out to me, last podcast I said your first phone call, it was just a what would a conversation with me look like? And I'd love to talk to guys that are really wanting to see these changes in their lives. All right, well, let's go back to this idea of a new and willing heart. And probably everybody who, is a Christian or has a faith background who has struggled with sexual brokenness, most likely you have been drawn to Psalm 51. Psalm 51 is a psalm of David, and the Psalm 51 is really a psalm of him crying out to God after a time of dastardly deeds on his part. He went from seeing a woman bathing to asking about her to getting one of his servants or, henchmen to bring her to him. As the king, he was able to take advantage of his position to bed her. Then, when she became pregnant, he had her husband killed to cover over what he had done. Now, most of us probably haven't progressed to that level, but most of us can identify with what followed when that became revealed and he became aware of and became in a place of deep despair and desperation for where his actions had led him. That idea of most of us find we go further than we ever wanted to go. We spend more money, or, we end up in places that we never thought we'd go. We cross boundaries. Those are the examples that Psalm 51 is all about. David crying out to God. And there's two verses that especially struck me that have always had such deep meaning for me. First of all, Psalm 51 says, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." And when it says renew a steadfast spirit, what that means is he had not been experiencing a steadfast spirit. He had a faltering spirit. He had a spirit which was prone to go whichever way the wind blew or his sexual desire led him. And he's going, I can't live this way. God, I need you to renew, to set me back to a new willing heart. And then a couple verses later in Psalm 51:12, you have this idea: restore to me the joy of your salvation, the joy, the peace, all of those good things he had experienced in his walk with God had been shattered. He was in a dark place. The dark clouds had come over. He could no longer see the sun. And then he prays following that, he says, grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. If I have a steadfast spirit, then I'm going to be able to withstand the wind of temptation, the wind of when things seek to push me or pull me in directions that are harmful for me. If I have a willing spirit, I'm going to be responsive to your leading. And those obviously are in the Old Testament. And I think even, thousands of years later, most of us can respond to that idea of, God, I want a steadfast spirit. I want a willing spirit. Now, if you continue into the Old Testament prophets, you will see actually this is what the very thing has been promised to us. So in the book of Ezekiel, I sometimes struggle with the book of Ezekiel. It's been in my, I've been reading it in my 1-year Bible, but embedded in all of those different crazy things Ezekiel does is this promise from God, which speaks directly to the fact that we end up with an unwilling spirit or a faltering spirit. And listen to the promise that's found in Ezekiel 35. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. Your filth will be washed away, and you will no longer worship idols. Okay, here we go. And I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. And I will put my spirit in you so that you will follow my desires, follow my decrees, and be careful to obey my regulations. And so you have, even in Ezekiel, you have, of course, that is pointing ahead to Pentecost, where God's very Spirit, as was promised to us. And in the book of Acts, you see that indwelling, that Spirit actually became the living reality of all of those who had invited God into their lives. And so now you have the very possibility. Let me read that again. I will give you a new heart. I will put a new spirit in you. So we're asking God. In the Old Testament, it was looking forward, David, but now we actually have that available to us, a new heart, a new spirit. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart, and I will give you a tender, responsive heart. And we're going, God, that's what we want. That's what we need. And then a little bit later, we see that very promise lived out. For example, in the book of Philippians, we see where it says, it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. So when we are in sync with the Spirit of God, when we are reaching out to him, we are calling out to him, we have this tender, responsive Holy Spirit in us. We can access that. We can call out for that. We have direct access to it. It's like money in our account sort of thing. We can say, God, I am calling out for a tender, a responsive, a new spirit, a willing heart. And it's a prayer that I try to pray on a regular basis. God, today, would you give me a responsive heart? I don't want my heart to become hardened. Hebrews talks about today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. And every day it's like I need to take that cold, stony heart. It's almost like my heart is like wet cement. And if I don't continue to keep working it and allowing the Spirit of God to soften it, it will harden, it will bake. And then it takes almost a hammer to break it up. So that was my prayer way back then. When I heard these verses and I heard the song I'm going to read for you, it was that prayer. And I really think that that's a prayer that each of us need to return. I know this podcast today is Vern the preacher, and we do a lot of other podcasts that don't necessarily refer to scripture and all of that. But today it's Vern the preacher. It's giving you a bit of a window on the cries of my heart, the things I reach out to God for. God, give me that willing heart. Give me that responsive heart today. Because without that Spirit softening my heart, without that, my actions will surely lead me away from you. I will be unresponsive. I will be stony. I will not be able to hear the softening whisper of your Spirit. So let me end by reading the words to this song that had so impacted me. Now, this song is way back from the 80s. And if you listen to it, you can, I'm not going to play the music because then they'll block the podcast. But you can look it up. I'm going to read the words. And it's in the 1980s by an artist, Kelly Willard. And the song is called Willing Heart. And I want you to listen to these words because they were such a poignant cry of my heart that these words spoke to. So let me read these. Once I stumbled in the darkness, doing only as I pleased. But I wasn't really happy, and my heart was not at ease. I just didn't have the willingness to follow his commands till I laid my heart completely in his hands. If you don't have a willing heart, ask him to give you one. If you can't seem to make a start, trust in his power. For the Lord of love is watching you. He sees what you're going through, and he will make a way if you want him to. Reminds me of 1 Corinthians 10:13, God will provide a way. He will make a way if you want him to. If you want him to, then tell him so. It goes on, all the things my heart held on to only filled me with despair. Boy, do we know that. And the road that I was traveling never took me anywhere. And I knew no satisfaction till I found my rest in him. Then he filled my heart with gladness once again. Reminds me of the joy of our salvation, right? And then it ends on this same promise. If you don't have a willing heart, ask him to give you one. If you can't seem to make a start, trust in his power. For the Lord of love is watching you. He sees what you're going through, and he will make a way if you want him to. Oh, do you want him to? Then tell him so. I encourage you to look that song up, but more importantly, I encourage you to pray that prayer on a regular basis. We'll see you next time.